Hi, this is Mrs. Compton, and today we're going to look at an overview for argumentation. You do want to have your notes set as you watch the PowerPoint and listen to all of the pieces and parts of argumentation. This is a concept that we're going to come back to over and over and over throughout the school year. By the end of the year, you will be pros in argumentation. Feel free to stop the video whenever you need to make sure you have the concepts down. I do have a sample as we go through argumentation. You don't necessarily need to write down the sample unless it's something that's going to work for you. Remember, when you're taking notes, it's always about writing down whatever works for you. So if you don't need to write every little thing down unless that's what you need. So make sure you're taking notes in a way that works for you. This should be in a key part of your notebook because you're going to come back to argumentation all of the time. Tomorrow we'll be looking at an argument and seeing if you can pick out the pieces. So you will use this right away tomorrow. So today we're going to look at the structure of an argument. There are three key parts to an argument, and we're going to look at a fourth piece that you can also consider when putting together an argument. So the first piece of an argument, when we're looking at the structure of an argument, is the claim. Every argument starts with a claim. This is the point that you are making. A claim is an idea that you are putting forth as fact. You can think of it as an answer to a question. So Mrs. Bray and I may put forth a prompt for you to answer, and your very first sentence usually is your claim. Think about it as a topic sentence to a paragraph, a thesis statement within an essay, the main point that you're making in a presentation. Everything starts with a claim, the point that you're making, the idea that you put forth as fact. Now, in the claim or the argument that I'm going to make throughout this PowerPoint, my claim is that pizza is the best food on the planet. I'm putting forth this point as fact. Now, of course, we know that there are lots of claims that you can make. You can make the claim that ice cream is the best food on the planet. Sushi is the best food on the planet. Just because I put it forth as fact doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, but it is my claim. It's the point that I'm going to be making for the purpose of this argument. So once we have our claim, which is a pretty simple idea, we need to have the second piece, which is evidence, to back up that claim. Your ideas are absolutely fantastic, as are mine, but you need evidence to support your ideas. The best evidence comes from researched professional sources. Just because we say something is true doesn't necessarily make it so. I can say that the earth revolves around the sun. Just because I said it doesn't make it true. You need to have evidence to support your ideas. The best evidence comes from researched professional sources versus, say, anecdotal sources. So having a story that shows your point. You want to try to have really polished professional evidence. Now, in the case of my pizza claim, the evidence that I'm going to use today is that Congress has approved pizza as a vegetable for school lunches, claiming tomato paste as a vegetable. And this overrides the USDA's decision that pizza is not considered a vegetable for school lunches. Now, that evidence is definitely open to debate, but I'm saying that Congress is a credible source, and the USDA definitely credible. I have my work cited underneath because, of course, we always want to have citation information for any of our evidence, but my basic evidence then is able to prove that pizza could be considered the best food. That evidence, we might have multiple pieces as we go through an argument, or you might just have one. It all depends on what you're working with. So that evidence, though, all comes together when we look at the third piece of the argument. This, in my mind, is one of the more important pieces. Every piece is important, but you definitely need the third piece to tie it all together, and that's your reasoning. So we make our claim, we have our evidence to support our claim, and then we have the reasoning. Reasoning ties your evidence to your claim. It's the explanation that strengthens your point. Your reasoning can be simple, but as you move through the year, we hope to see more complex reasoning. So reasoning is the explanation that explains how your evidence ties back to your claim. So right now, if I have the claim that pizza is the best food on the planet, and I have the evidence that the USDA or Congress has considered it a vegetable, overriding the USDA, my reasoning would explain how those two tie together. School lunches are meant to be evenly balanced for a student's nutritional needs. Pizza acting as a vegetable shows the nutritional value of this food. This nutritional value exceeds other foods and makes it the best food there is. Note how I tie back to my claim. My reasoning needs to explain how my evidence supports my claim. So the reasoning always kind of ties your evidence back to your claim and explains how your evidence supports your claim. This is really key, especially in education, because Mrs. Bray and I might not understand why you think your evidence supports your claim. The reasoning is your thoughts, your ideas, and it ties those two things together. So when we put it all together, you have a complete argument. So you'll note that I adjust my wording a little bit, but I have my basic claim, evidence, and reasoning within this paragraph. Pizza is the best food on the planet. So my topic sentence makes my claim. Journalist Mary Claire Jelinek writes how Congress has approved pizza as a vegetable for school lunches, claiming tomato paste as a vegetable. This overrides the USDA's decision to not include tomato paste as a vegetable. Note my fantastic typo there. School lunches are meant to be evenly balanced for a student's nutritional needs. So I go from my evidence into my reasoning. Pizza acting as a vegetable shows the nutritional value of this food. This nutritional value exceeds other foods and makes it the best food there is. So I have a complete argument. Now, it's not the best argument on the planet, but it is complete. I have a claim, I have evidence, and I have reasoning. Now, as you become savvier and savvier writers throughout the year, Mrs. Bray and I are going to ask you to also think about a fourth element of argumentation, which is the counterclaim. The counterclaim is the answer to a claim, usually achieved by refuting the evidence and/or reasoning. So it's not just providing an opposite claim, but actually tearing apart the evidence and reasoning of somebody's claim. As you write, you need to think about counterclaims that other people may make and try to answer these counterclaims before they're even made. It's a preemptive argument. It's basically looking at the possible things people might say about your argument and trying to answer them before they make them. It's almost putting yourselves in the audience's shoes and thinking about what they might say against you. In the case of academia, it's you putting yourself in Mrs. Bray and I, putting yourself in our shoes and saying, what might they say against this argument that I can try to answer before they even make the comment on the paper? In the case of my argument, a counterclaim might be that pizza has a high fat content because of the cheese. This is not a nutritious choice and therefore cannot make pizza the best food. Definitely a very clear counterclaim. I bet you as you were looking at my pizza argument, you were coming up with all kinds of reasons why pizza is not the best food. Because of its taste, because of the calories, because of the fat, because of the carbohydrates. There's all kinds of reasons why pizza isn't the best food out there. If this is a possible counterclaim, I want to think about responses to this and answer it in my writing early. I want to answer something about maybe how there's fat content in cheese, but there's also the dairy that has the nutritional element. I want to try to answer the claim. I want to acknowledge it and I want to answer it. Note that a counterclaim is not just that some other food is the best. It needs to tie specifically to your argument. Otherwise, we just have two arguments passing in the night. A counterclaim isn't ice cream is the best food on the planet. That doesn't actually answer my argument at all about pizza. It's just putting another claim out into the world. And that just means that pizza and ice cream kind of pass by each other. There's no actual argumentation happening there. We want to actually look at the evidence and the reasoning and attack that first. So you would attack that it might be a vegetable according to Congress, but it also has a lot of fat in it, and that's a better counterclaim. So those are the key elements of argumentation that Mrs. Bray and I would like you to have down in your notes for tomorrow. Tomorrow when you come to class, we're going to take a look at an argument and see if we can pick apart and find the pieces and parts. You want to make sure you have your notes set, have an understanding or any questions that you might have about claim, evidence, and reasoning. And we'll also take a look at counterclaims a little bit tomorrow also. Thank you.